Welcome to the Imperial Brickz YouTube channel. It's Nixter here, and in this series, I've been collecting all of the characters or minifigures featured in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga video game. In this episode, we'll be adding new minifigures to the collection, we'll be changing out some parts on some minifigures already in the collection, and we've got a lot more to talk about, so let's get right into it. Of course, if you want a display case like this one for your own collection, you can find a link down in the description below. We're going to start off the video with the extra toggle collection of minifigures, and that's because I did some rearranging. We still don't have a full-time display for these guys. I'm also rearranging the office that I use to do Imperial Brick stuff, so hopefully when I'm done rearranging it, I'll have some better spots on the walls that don't have things in front of them so that I can have maybe both of the displays, the full TCS display and the extra toggle display, maybe one on top of the other or next to each other in some other fashion so that when I'm filming them, you can see both of them at the same time. As you can see, we do have just about enough spots to get all the characters that I wanted to get in here. I think the two that I shaved off the end to make this all fit are the Luke wearing the kind of white outfit that he has in some of the game media that came out before the game came out, as well as that Leia in her white outfit as well. Neither of them are actually in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga, so I didn't really feel bad not having spots for them in this display. And you can see that I also did scatter in some of the droids randomly throughout in some of the empty spots. I'm still not 100% sure that I want to have all the droids in the same display as these characters, but the character we're going to be adding to the extra toggle display today is, I believe it's pronounced Repiers. These are the guys, if you haven't seen this guy before, that are sitting on either side of Boss Nass in Episode 1 when Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Jar Jar go to the Gungan base underwater and ask for the Gungan sub. And these guys, like I said, are on either side of Boss Nass, and they're even seen in the cutscene in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga video game for that scene, and so they are featured in the game. And if we take a closer look, there we go, had to let it focus, you can see that we've got a interesting combination of parts here. So from what I could tell, it looks like they modified the head in-game from the Jar Jar head to kind of look more like the Repiers, which is more of an oval shape, if I'm not mistaken. And in this case, with the actual character that I'm holding, what I would have to assume happened is that they purchased an official Jar Jar head, shaved off the ears, shaved it down so it was nice and smooth, and then just repainted over it. And you can see, because of that we're missing some of the details that are featured on the actual in-game figure. It would be super cool to get a character that had a custom mold for the head that had the completely accurate prints. But at the very least, we do have a really nice looking pad printed torso for this character. And unfortunately, I cannot tell you where you can find one of these. I purchased this on eBay. That's the only place I can recommend looking. When I inquired, I was not entirely able to understand who exactly it was that made this character. It seems like it was a group effort from a couple different people, and I'm not sure if they even ever sold them on their website. But again, I saw this on eBay, scooped it up as soon as I saw it, and that's kind of the way you have to go about getting some of these kinds of characters. But no back print on this guy, and although it's not 100% perfect, I figured it'd be worthy of adding to the extra toggle display. So back here at the extra toggle display, we've got our Repiers minifigure right here. There could be two of them. I think it would be kind of tricky to get a second one of these, so I'm not going to be pressed about having two spots for two of the exact same figure in the extra toggle display, but it's cool to have him next to the other Gungan. We'll get a close-up shot of that so you can see those two next to each other. But the extra toggle display is actually starting to come along pretty nicely, but there's still quite a few figures that were missing from the display, and we'll go through some of them real quick here. Had to get my list, but let's go through it real quick. So back to episode 1, I want to say, maybe 2. I think it's 1. You have Padme Pilot. And then definitely in episode 2 is Kosai, which is the missing Kaminoan. There are actually 3 in game, and that's the third one. It's the guy who gets struck by electricity from that tower that he's working on. I would like to get a Sacy Tin minifigure to add to this display, the pregnant Padme minifigure from the, really either of them. It would be cool to have both of them. I'm not sure. I do have both of those on here. So there's the all-white outfit pregnant Padme, and then there's the Mustafar pregnant Padme minifigure. Baby Luke and Leia would be cool to get some form of those characters. We're missing the Imperial Engineer, which is just the gray version of that guy right there. I want to get at least one Cantina band member. Ponda Baba, that's another one. Christo's supposedly going to be making. The Cantina NPC with the blue head. Not sure what species that is again. I'm missing a Cantina NPC with the goggles on the bucket hat. That mold does not exist. The Ceremony Luke minifigure, John Dodonna, General Veers, gotta get him. That has a bunch of custom parts. That's gonna be a tricky one. The 2 Cloud City NPCs, I'd like to get one with each of the 2 styles of torsos I think that you see featured on those Cloud City NPCs. We need the Lando with Han Solo clothes. We need the Nien Nunb. I have 10 Num. For some reason, no Nien Nunb yet. And then it would be cool, like I said, we cut off the poster Luke and the poster Leia. I'd also like to get a Sansweet minifigure and the Asajj Ventress headpiece, because there's not actually a full torso to go with that. But that's all the extra toggle characters. With the space that we have here, there are, I believe, 40, right? 16 plus 16 is 32, plus 8 is 40. And that is about all the characters that I want to have for the extra toggle collection. That extra toggle portion was probably a little bit too long, but it's okay. It's over now. We're here at the main display, and there's 2 characters that we need to take a closer look at, and that would be our Padawan Obi-Wan. If I can pull these out without knocking anything over. And we've got our Episode 3 Mace Windu. So let's go take a closer look at these 2 characters. So, Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi right here. If it could focus. There it is. Beautiful figure. This is the torso that I originally had on the character. It is an official Lego torso from the set that featured the Padawan Obi-Wan, and I believe there might be 2 actually. We'll put those up on the screen. But anyway, this torso is kind of cheating, because what they did is they printed over the yellow with the light nougat color. So if we take a closer look here, you can see at the bottom the light nougat color is not perfectly aligned with the edge. And yeah, you have to really zoom in and be looking at it basically with the 5x zoom to notice that. But in my head, I know it's there. Some people aren't as particular as I am, and that is okay with them. But I have made efforts to make this torso better. And what we have here is another version of the torso from Nietzsche Customs. And people did not like this one, not because it's fully printed custom, but this time the belt was too dark, people said. So if you look here, you can see the belt is a slightly different shade on the official torso, which is probably what people are used to seeing. I'd have to go and double check to see if the belt is supposed to match the color of the legs and his hair. Does it? I don't know right now. We'll put a picture of that on the screen. But people were like, no, this is way too dark. It looks bad next to the Qui-Gon, so don't use that one. Fine. Well, I have here, took the staple off, but this is from SJ Brickz. He did a restock, and I was able to catch it this time. There are so many things to keep up with. Believe it or not, even I miss releases for some of the custom parts sometime. But we can put the packaging aside, pull the torso out of this bag, and you can see here that we have now a more accurate version of the Obi-Wan Padawan torso. The belt is actually the same color. Technically speaking, the print style for the belt, I believe, is not the same, because it is okay, it's the same as the official one. That's interesting. The Nietzsche Customs one has the zigzag line pattern. It's probably from one of the other games. Actually, now that I look at it closer, it is a zigzag line. Maybe that's just the way the print looks when the ink doesn't perfectly fill in the thing. I don't know. I want to say on the Ki-Adi-Mundi, which I have right here now, you can see that he does have not the triangle of dots that slowly gets smaller towards the center of the belt, but he has just a zigzag line, which, again, I'm going to have to go back and put pictures of all the characters next to the in-game versions to really double, triple check to make sure that all these little details are exactly how they're supposed to be. But anyway, so this is the SJ Brickz torso. I was a little bit confused, but it does look like it is exactly the same as the official LEGO version of the torso. The prints from this guy are always immaculate. You can see there's no part of the print going over the edge of the torso, and it's not like fading off or anything because the pad was not even fully on it, aligned on this one. But now we have an actually accurate torso, which is very exciting, and we can do the most fun part now, where we disassemble. Whoa. There we go. Needed some more clearance there. We can disassemble this minifigure. Throw on the legs onto the new SJ Brickz torso. Put our reddish brown cape back on, like so. And we've got our Obi-Wan Kenobi head right there, and our Obi-Wan Kenobi hair. So now I have what I believe is a perfect TCS style Padawan Obi-Wan minifigure. Somebody's going to point out something that's going to make it not fully accurate, but as I'm sitting here right now, I think this is as good as it's going to get. Now for Mace Windu, same exact story. Don't have to say it all again. You guys already heard it all. The torso is, well, let's take a closer look at it. This is an old LEGO torso, so the brown is a little bit more filled out on these, so it even kind of covers up part of the robe piece there. Again, some of you guys might not be stressed about that or concerned or care at all. I do, so if you are one of those people who doesn't care, this will be on my eBay, or will have already gone up on my eBay probably at this point, but somebody will have the opportunity to add this to their collection. What I have here from a seller is a private seller. I believe is an SJ, I believe is an SJ Brickz Mace Windu torso. He did make this torso. Oh wow, it's double bagged. I just realized that. Get rid of that. This thing is super protected. It didn't come with any SJ Brickz packaging or branding, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But I don't know who else did this. I'm looking at it really closely now with the zoom on the camera. You can see here's the Obi-Wan, and man, it actually does look a little bit different. That's crazy. I don't know who made this one. For now, I think it's better than, again, the official one. It really bugs me how the official ones are with the printing over them. So we're going to switch this out, even though it's not perfectly perfect to the Obi-Wan one, because that's just, I guess, how it's going to go. But this looks a lot better. The print quality of the neck collar area is much more satisfactory to me. And the print for the belt and everything looks pretty good. How was the color match on these two? This one's a little bit lighter, which is interesting, but they both have really strong like print details, so it's hard to complain about that. Anyway, that's our corrected episode 3 Mace Windu. Get the head looking straight ahead. And yeah, we can go ahead and add both of these guys back to the TCS display. First, we can add back the Padawan Obi-Wan minifigure. Goes right up here next to Qui-Gon, who now people are going to say his torso or belt print doesn't look good, so I have to switch that out. It's going to be a never-ending cycle, but eventually, hopefully, I can get my hands on an SJ Brickz torso like this. Maybe it'll match that one a little bit better. This one, I believe, is from Orbital Minifigs. Got that a while ago. And Christo has also announced a Qui-Gon TCS style minifigure, so maybe it'll be worth getting one of those to compare and see which one is more uniform between the two. But now we can add our Mace Windu, and now we can add our episode 3 Mace Windu minifigure with his updated torso, which, at least in my head, gives me a peace of mind knowing that it is a fully custom torso and not just something that somebody printed over. I know it may seem like I'm dragging out a lot of this, and I really just want to reiterate that when I get parts in for this collection, it's happening in real time. I do not have a stash of TCS parts or minifigures anywhere. Right now, as of the time of filming this episode, which is about a week in advance from when it's going to be coming out. I do not have any more minifigures or even parts to switch out on any of the characters in either of the displays. There are quite a few people that I'm aware of that are working actively on making some of the characters that I'm still missing. But again, I am getting this stuff and adding it as I get it, basically. So there's no dragging going on here. And I just want to also talk about my standards a little bit more. So like we just switched out the 2 torsos for Obi-Wan here and Mace Windu. If I could have gotten a perfectly good looking torso from the beginning, I would have been satisfied with that and I would have never had to change them out. However, as time has gone on, different sellers have made different iterations of the torso, some more accurate than others, and for that reason, I am going to take the time and energy to switch them out so that the display can look that much more perfect, in my opinion. Something else to talk about are some of the characters that are already in the display that aren't going to be here to stay or have parts that aren't going to be here to stay. That's a real part of this collection. If you don't care about this, you don't have to keep watching, but let's go through some of those characters. So an obvious one that comes to mind is Bossk. I'm really happy with this Bossk minifigure, but the torso could be a little bit more perfect, and he has a resin printed head that is painted. It looks really, really good, but that is not meeting my standards for this display. It needs to be an injection molded head, and it needs to have printed details on that injection molded piece, which that is not. The same thing, I believe, goes for the Forlom. I want to say that the head is still painted on this guy. I was trying to look at it myself. I can't really tell. I want to say it is. And he's also missing one of the lines on his torso. I discussed this in the episode where I added him to the collection, but that's a detail that's off, and until somebody makes a more perfect one, this is going to stay. But I would like to get one that is 100% accurate. Moving right over here to the Ugnaught. It was pointed out correctly that this is the official LEGO Ugnaught minifigure head, so I will still have to purchase the Christo version of the Ugnaught so I can get his custom molded headpiece, and it'll be that much more accurate. Moving over here to the Imperial Spy. Will somebody ever make a piece that resembles this face? Maybe not for a while, but it's definitely possible. It needs to be something similar to how LEGO did it with their Garindin or Imperial Spy minifigure. The head, the hood does not need to be molded in. Bo-Katan Brickz made it a little bit more complicated by doing it that way, but I'm confident that somebody will eventually do an injection molded, pad printed version of that character, and I won't have to have this resin printed and painted headpiece. Moving along, a character that people have seen come and go from the display is the Shakti minifigure. The Leku, or whatever the tentacles on top of her head are called, is the wrong style for the Complete Saga. I will put in some gameplay of Shakti from LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga. You can see what her hair or headpiece is supposed to look like, and that is why I'm going to be changing it out, because I want it to look like it does in the game. Right next to her, we've got Aayla Secura. Now, stay tuned. There's a lot more going to be happening with this character in the near future, but although the prints for the torso and head are immaculate, this is a resin-printed headpiece, and it is painted. And for that reason, I will continue to search for an injection-molded headpiece. Same thing goes with Plo Koon, right next to Aayla. Again, this is a resin-printed painted headpiece. It looks really good, but I would like to get the Christo custom-molded headpiece. The Magna Guard. This one's going to be tricky, but technically the print for the head is not 100% accurate, and the torso is the official LEGO one, which is not 100% accurate, and I would like to get a more accurate version of that character when it is possible. Moving up to the top here, we've got Queen Amidala. She has a 3D printed, I believe, or resin printed, probably resin printed. It's actually maybe too high quality for 3D printing. But that is not here to stay. I think it would be cool to try to get a molded version of that headpiece. Nobody has even announced that yet, but it has to be possible at some point. But again, it's in the display. It's there. It's taking up the spot. So you can't complain that, I'm not adding stuff, right? And if I look at the rest of the characters that I have in the display, I think I'm pretty satisfied with the rest of them. I don't think there are any more that need to be switched out for any weird reason or another. It would be nice to get some eyes printed on the Ewok. It would be really cool to get someone to pad print them. But with this one, it is painted. I am not mad at this one. One, because the ability to paint or print on the hood like this isn't necessarily able to be done with a pad printer. The newer ones, although they probably use the same ink, I believe can't actually be applied in the same way that a print is applied to a torso because the surface is so textured and has so many curves and bumps and things like that. So I think the only way to go with this guy is to paint him. And if the paint looks good, where there's no little bits coming off to the sides, doesn't look like a 5-year-old did it, which I've had happen to me before with custom Ewoks, I think it's acceptable. But like I said, this guy is going to need some eyes. Also worth mentioning that at some point, probably going to need to get a custom helmet for Boba Fett here because I think this is the old brown color and it should be the new brown color, and we need that to perfectly match. People have also mentioned that this guy needs to be switched out because that gray on his torso is not the correct shade of gray. I have tried to compare that, I want to say before. I might have to do that again, but I think that that should be okay, but we'll see. And I think that's everything. I think we are pretty okay with the rest of the characters in the display. Obviously, it would be nice to get eye prints on characters like Jar Jar, Boss Nass, General Grievous, Watto, all those kind of guys that need that extra little bit of detail. Even maybe the Gamorrean Guard might have black eyes, I think. But yeah, I think the rest of the display is pretty much here to stay. So hopefully that was informative to you. I know people think that I'm also lying about the fact that I don't have any more figures to add to the display. I've made quite a few videos either in the last TCS episode or on shorts. You can go check those out where I discuss what's still missing, why it's still missing. Yes, have people made other UV printed versions or versions that are 3D printed and painted or resin printed and painted of some of them? Yes, it's been done, but again, it's got to be pad printed, it's got to be injection molded, and those are my standards. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and go check out imperialbrickz.com for all your official LEGO Star Wars minifigure needs.